Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Blue Abroad Show. I'm your host, Terry, and I'm joined by a very special friend of mine here, Marcus. Hello, mate.
G'day, Terry. Thanks for having me, mate. It's an absolute pleasure to be on.
Absolutely, mate. We're gonna get a proper introduction to you in a moment, but before we do that, we've got a lot of hellos and a lot of thank yous to get through for those that make the Blue Abroad Show what it is. First and foremost, we've got to thank our man Shad, who does our back end for the Blue Abroad Show. Unfortunately, we can't be in the studio tonight, but given that we are free, we do have freedom. We'll be back in the studio from next week, which is exciting until the next announcement is made. But Shad runs a company called Assertive Media that you're all familiar with if you watch the Blue Abroad Show regularly. He services us there in the studio, and we want to give him a big thank you, and we want to remind you to show him some support. If you could just go onto his page, we'll remind you at the end of the show on his Facebook page. Show him some love there. Give him a like, give him a follow. Even a review would be nice. That'll help Shad, who helps us, and we can go from there. And also, as you'll see, all of the members of the channel, these are paid members who support the channel through their pocket, which is unbelievable. Even people just watching the videos on the channel is a support. But those who go that next layer, thank you very much for that. If that's something you're interested in as a viewer, you're more than welcome to hit our YouTube channel and hit the join button and go from there. But Marcus, mate, making the debut on the Blue Abroad Show. Let's talk a little bit about you, because we've done a Carlton People episode, so people will be familiar with your face, and I'm pretty sure they'll be familiar with your voice if they listen to your podcast. Mate, how are you? What's going on in your world?
Oh, mate, yeah, it's obviously the last week's been a bit tough for all of us Victorians, but yeah, we're seeing the light now. We're out of lockdown tonight, which is good. And I guess over the last few days, just been planning season 2 of the Pressure Point podcast, which we started last year, and so we're getting season 2 underway in a couple of weeks, which drops on the 4th of March. So been planning that over the last couple of days. It's exciting, and looking forward to it. The footy is really ramping up now, which is great.
Mate, we're a month away. We are 1 month away from round 1.
It's incredible, isn't it? It's the round one's always such a big build up for us, and I think we're due this year. I don't want to get too excited, but I think we are.
No, for sure. Well, I've got Joshua Bloody here, who's given a Steven Seagal reference, and it's funny he's done that. that actually popped up in your intro. So for those who aren't aware of the Pressure Point podcast, tell us about it. Where can we find it? What's it about? Tell people.
Yeah, so we just talk everything footy. So we're not just specifics of one club. We talk all the big topics. We do match reviews, match previews. We get special guests on from time to time as well. So it's it's just a bit of banter, just like a fan's point of view on all the topics. You know, we don't get too serious on there. Obviously, yeah. So I definitely put my Carlton hat on from time to time especially when they need a bake or if we've had a good win. So we're definitely get a bit biased. So I'm not going to lie there. So it is good fun. And then Quinn, my co-host, who is a mad Richmond supporter, he gets up and about as well. So he had some good fun on season 1, that's for sure. But yeah, we just talk all things footy, and so our season 2 launches in a couple of weeks. So super exciting.
Fantastic. And where can we find you guys?
Yes.
On socials.
Yeah, so it's just Pressure Point Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and then YouTube we're on as well, and then all your podcast platforms. So the main ones being Spotify and iTunes is where most people listen to, but yeah, on all podcast platforms, and then the YouTube channel as well.
Fantastic, mate. It's exciting. I'm excited for you guys. I love the way you go about it. I was lucky enough to get a special guest interview as well, so I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with this year.
I believe you were our first guest that we did have on, I think, from memory.
I was too.
Yeah.
I was too. Yeah. All right. There's one for the memory bank when we're nice and old and grey.
That's it.
Awesome. Well, so tonight, ladies and gents, what we're going to do is we're going to continue on with the player previews for season 21. We're going to start with Sam Walsh and run through to about Nick Newman, and that'll give us about an hour's worth of a conversation. As you know, the player previews this year are a little bit different. Want to get you guys involved and have your comments pop up during the player previews. So while we do talk about the players, we'd love your input. And yeah, without further ado, we are also going to talk a little bit about the AFLW at the start because the ladies did have a great win last week. So, Shad, if you want to roll that intro, let's get started with the show.
What's going on? Internet!
Martin's been very impressive every single time.
Thanks to all the Carlton supporters, thank you for all the love.
Nathan's playing Glasgow, and there's a magic moment. Ball inside 50, control! He strikes it beautifully. He's got it.
Gets me every single time, Marcus, mate.
Great.
Gets me every
That was
time.
great.
Want to touch on the ladies first up because, Marcus, we were struggling. We were 0-2, flag favourites. It really was the Carlton story, overhyped, all the talent, and unfortunately they just haven't started the season as well as what their hype was in the preseason. Have you watched much of the AFLW this season?
I have. I've watched a bit of it. Definitely a lot more than I have over previous seasons. It's actually been really good to watch all games, actually. So the improvements there, and it's really good to see. Touching on that, that Carlton theme, especially round one with that classic, like the men last year, where started poorly, came back hard, and just ran out of time. So, but no, good to get that win on the weekend, and hopefully that kickstarts them going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It was. I was pretty confident last week that they'd win. I didn't really care who they played. They had to win because it's a 9-game season. You can't be 0-3 going into a 9-game season and hoping to make finals, let alone win the flag. This week's interesting on all fronts, on the field, off the field. We've got Richmond, and obviously that means that the Hosking twins have a matchup against each other. And I'm not sure if you've seen or if you guys at home have seen, but you've got to go on their Instagram and watch the pranks that they've been doing to each other. Absolutely hilarious.
It's I literally watched that just before we jumped on, and it was very good. The banter that those two girls have is great, and definitely see more of it. We definitely should see more of it, I reckon.
Yeah, I think so too. They do it well. It'd be kind of weird living with, like, you live with your sibling who you also play against. So I think they've done a pretty good job of making some fun of it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's can't wait to see him go toe to toe on the weekend.
Yeah, should be good. It should be good. So we're looking forward to that. I think it's a Saturday 3:10 p.m. game. Tickets, don't know about if they're going to be put on sale, if there's going to be availability. As you said before, we've only just found out this morning that we're going to be back out into society from tomorrow. So fingers crossed that we can get tickets and get to the game. Otherwise, we're just going to have to watch it from home and do what we did in 2020. But either way, important matchup, and I think they should. I'm pretty confident that we're a lot better than Richmond. I actually haven't watched any of Richmond this year, so I don't really. I mean, I've just watched their scores, but I'm pretty confident that it's going to be a Carlton win, and we'll see what happens on Saturday.
Yeah, I think we'll get the job done as well. And yeah, I've watched a couple of the Richmond games so far, and yeah, we're definitely the better side, and I'll be pretty shocked if we do lose to them.
Yeah, love it. All right, well, let's start with the player previews for the night because we've got some big names. We're going to start with number 18, who is, can you call him a up-and-coming superstar just yet? I don't know. He's a special player, this one. We're going to start with number 18. That's Sam Walsh. Sam Walsh had his second year. He had a fantastic first year, and I guess you didn't know what to expect from year two. You often hear the theme of the second year blues, and you're never going to be as good as your first year, and there's a little bit more pressure. You're not so much of a novelty as a player anymore. But he started a little slowly last year in a new role, but he seemed to just pick it up and figure it out. Mate, what are you looking at for Sam Walsh this year, and you guys at home as well?
Yeah, I think when we caught up the other week, I told you that he was my tip to win the best and fairest whenever that gets announced. I think it'd be either him or Weitering, and yeah, he's second half of the season last year was incredible. I love everything about him as a machine, and even the vision that's coming out at pre-season training at the moment of him. He looks like he's just going to go to another level, which is great to see. And I think in 2021, I reckon he can make All-Australian. I think if he had probably a complete season last season, he could have been pushing for it. So I think 2021 he's good enough, and with some extra star power around him now as well. I think he's going to just keep improving. And it's scary to think that, you know, he's only in his third season. He's just going to be he is already an absolute jet. So it's scary to see what he's going to produce over the years.
Yeah. No, he's just got. He looks to have this look in his eye and this mentality that very few have. Only the super duper stars have, and that's that he's able to find something to do a little bit more at all times. He really wants it. I think, obviously, we just heard Patrick Cripps talk about how he was looking to shed some kilos last year because he wanted to cover some more ground. And when you think about it, it's probably because we didn't have runners like Sam Walsh or Zach Williams that we do now. I'm looking at Sam Walsh this year. I'm thinking very much the same as you. I think he could have arguably been in the All-Australian squad conversation last year. I didn't think he was quite good enough to make the team, but maybe the squad. If we win 3 to 4 more games, there's no reason why he can't be in that conversation. And the fact that he's got that running power, he's got that burst, and he's now got Patrick Cripps, who's now focusing a little bit more on the inside contested ball use to get it out to guys like him. I think he's only going to show more of that running power.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say, now that Cripps is going more back to what we know Cripps is great at, and then you add Zach Williams into there, like, who are they going to match up on? You either Walsh, Williams, one of these players, they're going to be running loose, and if it's Walsh, look out. He's that's what I mean. It's going to be even better with him, with the star power around him. So yeah, all Australian for me. I think that's my tip for him. I think that's what he needs to aim for. He's good enough to aim that high. So I think why not for him?
Well, Chris Judd won a Brownlow in his third season. Why can't Sam Walsh?
Exactly right. So I think he doesn't need it. He doesn't need to have a ceiling on his expectations. We've seen his first 2 seasons. Anything's possible with him. So I'm expecting another big year from Walshy.
Yeah, I think the other thing as well is and it's kind of been referred to very briefly, but we're going back to the way it used to be in terms of the quarters. And we know Sam Walsh is a running machine, is an endurance king, and it's players like him, like a Brad Hill, these long distance type, these gaff type guys who show up more so in red time. And I think that's the other part of the season for Sam Walsh that hasn't been spoken about too much. Do you feel the same, or am I just trying to look for a reason to get more excited for him?
No, I think the exact same. I mean, his tank is unbelievable. I think Andrew Russell came out a few weeks ago and just said how he's getting fitter and fitter. He's just an absolute machine. So, and then I think the other thing as well, if he can add some more goals to his game, which he did last season, that's just going to get him even more recognition if he already doesn't have it. So, I think, I'm with you. I think the sky's the limit with Walsh, and I'm very excited to see what he's going to do this season.
Yeah, no, it should be good. Let's have a look at some of the fans and what they have to say. Musaka says, "Don't forget that mark of the year." Absolutely. I mean, we talk about him as a running machine, but he also is a contested ball as well. Like, he's got it in him. That's the funny part. He's going to add more layers to the body, but he's already got a really clean, really strong layer of core strength. And we speak of Juddy. Juddy had it as well. Juddy wasn't a massive guy, but Juddy was a very strong guy through his core. So I don't know if Walsh is going to necessarily get massive and big, but he's always going to be stronger.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're backing into packs with Charlie Dixon coming the other way, you're pretty strong and you're pretty tough. So absolutely, he's so strong. And I guess it just, is there anything that isn't wrong with? Is there anything that is wrong with this guy? I mean, like, we just keep talking. There's just nothing wrong with him.
Yeah, well, let's touch on that. So we've all got this expectation now. It just is, and he's deserved it. He's earned it. He wants it. It looks like, he's put himself in that leadership group as well. Is there a reality where he has maybe not as good of a season, but he still averages something like 20 to 22 touches a game? And I feel like he's in a position where, if that was to happen, I feel like, the mainstream media anyway would look at that and Kane Corns is one, below par game from Sam Walsh away from really trying to rip in. So it's as much as I'm expecting him to improve and be in that All-Australian squad conversation, I'm not going to be completely devastated if he's not, because we have to always remember he's in his third year.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the scary thing about it. He's only in his third year, and usually usually any other third-year player, you wouldn't be having these expectations or all these conversations about him. So that just shows how special he is. And yeah, I mean, just with players like, just thinking about Cripps going back to his normal position and then having Walsh out there and just delivering, I just feel like he's just going to elevate his game. And then, I mean, I'm also with you as well in terms of, you know, if he has one bad game, two bad games here and there, that the media are going to jump on him. But I mean, that's what happens with good players, and I think you just got to take that as a compliment, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Let's continue on with some of these comments. Mark says he'll be our next captain. He bleeds blue, but still let the young man continue his journey because there will be bumps. As rosy as he's been, let's just enjoy his ride. Love that from Mark. I think that's brilliant. Jared's gone the other way. Sam Walsh is going to make the All-Australian team this year. Love it. We've got Greg, who says, if you had to pick something, his left foot needs some work. I'm sure he'll be working on that for sure. Sam Di Benedetto says, he's like a bottle of wine. He just gets better with age. So we've got one more here. Tommy, serious note, the best possess an ability to make time. He isn't scared. He turns back into trouble to work it out and backs himself to get it out. 2023, he will be a head and shoulders our best player. Looking forward to seeing what Pommy has in store for us tonight on the pun front, because he has an unlimited bag and supply of puns at his disposal. So thanks for that, Pommy. So that's Sam Walsh, relatively positive and rightly so. He, you know, if he's not the 2020 John Nichols medalist, then he's probably going to finish second or third at worst. So he's obviously come off a really good year, and we're hoping to see much more of the same from Sam Walsh in 2021. Next up, number 19, our man, the favourite son, the Carlton Football Club's favourite son, Mr. Eddie Betts. Eddie had it was fascinating year last year. It was a big hype around getting him back to the club, really warmed the heart. Obviously, we never wanted to see him leave. He left in circumstances that still are pretty unclear to us. There's rumours circulating and all of that, but I guess maybe once he's retired, we'll know the real reason. But long story short, we got him back. Unfortunately, we didn't get to watch him, Marcus. And he started pretty well. I must say, he started pretty well. He maybe had a little bit of a rough patch as the season wore on for many reasons. But before we get into his 2020, what are you looking at with Eddie Betts in 21?
Yeah, look, I don't expect him to play majority of the season. Obviously, his calf is an issue, and especially with his age as well. But I don't expect him to play majority of the season. But I do expect him to still play a role. Man, it's Eddie Betts, and you know, he can, and especially if we fingers crossed we do get a lot of fans to the games. I feel like he's one that revels in that, and that will take his game to the next level, which I think he missed last season and probably affected his form to a certain extent. So, yeah, look, anywhere from 10 to 15 games would probably be a good result for Eddie Betts, I reckon. Yeah, just with his age and his body at the moment, I just can't see him playing close to a full season.
Yeah, so that was the thing with me, with Eddie being back on the list. I was happy, obviously happy to have him back. We love Eddie Betts. He's a Carlton man. He's going to end his career at the club that he started. My worry last year was that he was really the only natural small forward on the list. Now we've obviously gone and recruited Corey Durden. So I'm hoping there's now a little bit more of it looks like there's a plan moving forward with a small forward position, rather than trying to turn all these midfielders into small forwards. We now have an up-and-coming small forward, in the ranks. We've got a mature head, Eddie Betts, who's arguably one of the best, if not the best, small forward to play. I'll let everyone else argue it. I'm not going to get into that. But, yeah, I think we're not relying on him to play every week this year, which is probably, for me, the most important part. And I want Eddie Betts to go out, and I don't want to see him look bad. I don't want to see him look washed up. And I will say I struggled watching him a little bit towards the back end of last year. It would have been nice to have a Corey Durden type on the list last year, because he started slowing down, he started fumbling, he started slipping over, and those are usually the signs that the game is moving ahead or he's thinking about it too much. So I like where we're placed with him now. Have you had a chance to look at the little preview of the Making Your Mark documentary?
Yeah, I had a look at that this morning. It was it looked good. Yeah, it showed that it's mainly his mental thing that was affecting him more than his physical is what I got from it.
Well, that's what I want to touch on with
Yeah.
you, because that's an unbelievable piece of insight.
Yeah.
Perfect timing, given we're talking about him as a 2021 preview. What did you make of those comments from Andrew Russell? And for you guys at home, if you haven't seen the little trailer, I've got it on the Blue Abroad Instagram page. What did you make of those comments about him?
I mean, it was pretty brutal. I mean, it probably needed to be. I mean, Eddie Betts is probably the kind of person, he's a veteran of the game, so he can probably take that feedback on board and not take it too personally. But I feel like that was, I mean, he was probably spot on, to be honest, and probably exactly what Eddie needed to hear, because there was a lot going on throughout 2020 with with the racial things and obviously in the hub and being away from the family and for a long period of time. So mentally, he probably was struggling more than physically. So it makes a lot of sense, and it's probably just a bit of a Andrew Russell just putting him in check and just refreshing his mind and just getting his focus back on to where it needs to be, I guess. So, I thought it was brutal, but probably necessary.
Yeah. For those that missed it, basically he talked about how Andrew Russell thought that Eddie started losing confidence in his craft. That was the comment, and I related to that because he was slipping over. I remember even the Gold Coast game when we won, he was slipping over. He's dropping marks. He was doing things that Eddie doesn't do. And Russell, I guess, was maybe talking about that. And he didn't kick too many goals in the last 3, 4, 5 games that he played. He did other things for the team. But I did appreciate hearing, that honest feedback. And I'm sure that's what happens with every player. It's not just a surprise that we got to see it this time. But yeah, like I said, I like the fact that we have a succession plan for him moving forward. Whether or not this is his last year, I'm more of the mentality of we'll live in the moment, enjoy every game that he plays while he plays it, and not try and just retire him mid-season, because he's here. He's our man. He's here. He's playing 2021, and so I'm just going to enjoy him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think as you touched on before, I just want to see him live before he retires again. Like that's what we missed out on last year, seeing him live. So I think if we can see him live in front of a packed MCG, that'll be great. Yep, fair enough. Let's have a look at some of the comments about Eddie. We've got Graham George. Eddie will play maybe half the season. If we still need Eddie, we haven't taken the next step. I think that's more. I think he's talking more about like the future. Simon believes that Eddie is going to be there for mentoring the small forwards. Any goals are a bonus. Jared says that he's going to win the goal of the year. Wouldn't put it past him. If he kicks one goal all season, I wouldn't put it past him kicking the goal of the year. I like this one from Josh. Fish will be the new bets for the future. That's a very good point there. Christian believes that we should keep the faith. Eddie's going to bag 50 plus. That'll be unbelievable. Josh Blody says that he thought the comments were a bit BS. Some guys have to stick up for morals and be a beacon for society. Eddie shouldn't shut himself up if he's speaking out against racism. I think so. Josh, I'm assuming you're looking at those comments as if Eddie was looking at the things about society that he was looking at changing and taking a stand against, the discrimination and whatnot. I didn't see it that way. I didn't think Russell was talking about that, but I can see where the link can be made. But that's an interesting one. Sam says that Andrew Russell needs to pull his finger out. Too many players with injuries and on more money than the coach. And Pommy says we just need him for a packed 50K at the MCG. So, yeah, it's like I said, if it is Eddie's last year, I'm going to enjoy it because he has done great things for the club. He's been a great servant for the club. I think that's the main message there. And I think too often we're looking to retire players. We almost look too far ahead, and we don't live in the now. And I think if anything that we've learned about current times, we've got to just enjoy what we have right now. Yeah, absolutely. Spot on. Like you just show we didn't really get to farewell Simo and Cruz last year. So I think if more than anything now, we just need to appreciate Eddie and make the most of it if it is his last year. So we'll be savouring every moment of it if we can get to the grounds this year.
Yeah, for sure. All right, mate. Let's wrap it up there. That's Eddie Betts for 2021. Next up, number 20. Big fan of this guy, Lachie Plowman. He's a guy that is often maligned by myself. Years ago, I didn't really see the value in him. I was a little lost with what his role was. I didn't know where he was placed. He's grown on me. My penny drop moment was when he finished third in the best and fairest, and I heard the way the players spoke about him. I heard the way Cripps spoke about him. I heard the way David Teague speaks about him. I hear the way Dale Amos speaks about him. He plays a crucial role for this team, and he often goes underappreciated. He often finds himself being a bit of a whipping boy. Marcus, where are you at with Lachie Plowman, and you guys at home, where are you at with Lachie Plowman?
Yeah, I still feel like he's a pretty underrated player. I know he's much maligned, and he's a bit of a scapegoat when things go wrong, and especially after those bad losses, he's usually one of the first players that fans jump on. And I've fallen victim to that as well. But I do find him still is crucial to our defensive setup. I feel like he plays a very significant role down there. He's done some great jobs on players like Tom Papley, Charlie Cameron, these players. He's I find him very important, but I think the thing with Lachie, he just needs to bridge the gap between his best and worst. I feel like his bad games are bad, and then his good games are unbelievable. So if he can bridge that, I think that's his main flaw at the moment. Other than that, he does things that aren't too flashy, which is why people don't really notice him too much, or they sort of just like, oh, he didn't do too much this game, and they just scapegoat him. So yeah, for me, I feel like he's still an underrated player and crucial to our defense.
Yeah, I think it's probably look, I don't know what it is. I have a feeling it's got something to do with, because like you said, he's not flashy. He does a job. He does the job that no one really would put their hand up to do, but he does it. Like, he takes the smalls. He always plays on the Michael Walters, and he does a really good job on Michael Walters every year. Like you said, the Tom Papleys, and then on the other end of the spectrum, he finds himself on a Jack Darling or an Oscar Allen, or an Oscar McInerney for that point. He takes the smalls, he takes the talls. He's in a bit of he's an interesting height. He's almost got the height of a midfielder, but he's a key position defender. He's a third tall. I think he's the best way to label him. But I think as the years go on, I'm hoping that we're going to appreciate him a little bit more. I think maybe it's got to do with, he's not new to the club anymore, but I think every year that you play, you endear yourself more, and you have more memories in the Guernsey, and hopefully that rubs off on the fans. But I wanted to run you through the quote that it was Dale Amos, the backline coach, what he said the other day about Plowman. And he said, Plow is someone who since Christmas has been pretty flawless with his preparation. He's doing all the sessions, and he's a player that makes us better when he's in the team. He helps his teammates around him as well as getting the job done against his opponent. He's had a nice preparation. Last year was the first time he had a full preseason, and he's backing that up with another one this year. The continuity has been really good for Plow, and what has stood out is his leadership, particularly in helping others around him, has really grown. That's really important for us as a playing group. So it's, again, further to your point, the things that we don't see on game day and the things that we don't see during the week are the things that he is obviously leaving a lasting impression at. So how do we learn to appreciate the Plow?
It's a great question. I mean, you just got to look at his versatility. As we said before, he plays on these tours, he plays on the smalls, and if the player that he's playing on doesn't have a good game, or is super quiet, like I just remember that Tom Papley game stands out for me, where he just completely shut him down. He was one of the All-Australian small forward, in line for an All-Australian small forward role at that stage of the season, and completely shut him out of the game. So I think if we can see the impact that he's having, and stamping the influence of these key players, I think that's how we're going to appreciate him. Otherwise, otherwise you're not going to really notice him too much. Because he also doesn't do a lot of media stuff too. So a lot of non-Carlton people wouldn't even think of him in a high way like some of us do. So I think we just got to look at that role that he plays, and if he can keeps his opponent to a quiet game, then he's done his job. Yeah,
man. There's this notion about Marchbank, and I'm seeing it a lot in comments all over the place about how if Marchbank's fit, then we can't play Plowman and Marchbank. Where do you sit on that? Do you believe that's the case?
Oh, it's a really good question. I see Marchbank as that player that probably plays more on the talls. Where Plowman can play on the smalls. So I don't think Marchie has that. I think he's more of a tall matchup, especially with his leap and his intercept marking. Playing that, I don't know. I can't even remember the last time they even played in the same team. So it is a hard question. But for me, I'd probably rather Plowman at the moment, just because we're so stocked in that tall department. So, it's a good question. It's a tough one.
Yeah, no, mate, they're good headaches to have. That's what we want to be having.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah. Let's get through some comments. This is from Pommy. Plowman's a beast, man. Legit, the ultimate clubman. Towels up more smalls than Gargamel. Playing the extra down back is the toughest gig in footy. Made Papley and Walters look like a pair of Smurfs. Graham wants to know. Graham's asking the question. He says he likes Lachie, but how does he fit into the back six if we have no injuries? Aaron says, Lachie, I'll tell you what, this bloke never misses a game. Pretty consistent. One or two bad moments, a la the Robbie Gray mark and goal. Everybody comes for him. Give him a break. Love it, Aaron. We've got Jimmy Lazar says, every club needs a whooping boy, and Plowman is ours. Not sure why, but needs to stop having up and down games and be more consistent week in, week out. Terry Mastoros believes that he gets better every season and he's always consistent. OJ Dumsday says, I believe adding Sardan Williams, guys that can run and have speed, will make him look better. Too many slow guys around him last year. That's an interesting point. It's a very interesting point. All of a sudden, you've got a handball option to Adam Sard if you don't know where you're kicking the ball. And that's something we haven't had. I mean, Simo's obviously been a great servant to the club, but he lost his speed years ago. So he wasn't really someone that you could use as a sort of, break glass in case of emergency situation. So that's going to be something. That's going to be something to look forward to this year. Shad says that Plowman gives me the full spectrum of emotions in footy. He really does. He really does. He has a few of those moments, but at the same time, he looks to make amends. I think Liam Jones is not so different in that as well. He can have some of those. He can have some of those moments too.
Exactly right, and majority of us love Jonesy. So I think it's part and parcel with some players. You just got to accept the good with the bad sometimes. But yeah, he just needs to bridge it. His best and worst, I think, bridge that gap. Yeah,
fair enough. Well, I'm pumped for Lachie this year. I think this is going to be the year where he gets a little bit more recognition than in years gone by, and I'm looking forward to that. So that has been Lachie Plowman for season 2021. Next up, mate, they're big. Like I said to you, they're big names in this group. You've come at the right time. We've got number 21, Jack Martin. He made his debut for the football club in 2020 in a really good way. Obviously, we lost round one against Richmond. Paul lost, but he burst onto the scene. He was everything we needed and more. What are you looking forward to with Jack Martin in 2021?
Oh, mate, last year, that first half of last season got me very excited for him. I mean, after the Bulldogs game, he was my favourite player. That part of the season, he was that good. He was probably leading our best and fairest at that stage, probably 6 or 7 rounds in. So his talent is undeniable, and I think they came out during the week and said he's been training in the midfield. So I'm looking forward to seeing what sort of impact he does have in the midfield this season. He's a match winner. He's a match winner. So he can swing forward. He can kick goals from nowhere. So I love him. I've got a man crush on him. He's up there with one of my favourites now. So I'm pumped to see what he can do in his second season after having another pre-season with the group. It's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to read you out a quote here from John Barker about Jack Martin, and just to sort of corroborate what you were saying about him playing through the midfield. He's spending more time through the midfield this preseason, specifically more as an inside midfielder. We know how good he is as a ball hunter. He's very hard to tackle, and what he brings to the inside is his elite pressure. If he's not winning it, he'll be applying significant pressure to the opposition. He will play both midfield and up forward. What we want to do is expose him to more midfield minutes this year. When I first read that, I was very excited. I think that's part of the key this year, personally. I think it's part of the key to stopping the 5-goal swings, because I think where the 5-goal swings originated from is winning, and we lost the contest. David Teague talked about it all of last year. We didn't win the contest long enough, and I think he brings the pressure that we need, that if things aren't going our way, we can get repeat stoppages if he doesn't win the ball, as Barker said. So, yeah, he also, the thing about Jack Martin, and he sort of debunks the myth that you have to be big and muscly to be intense. He's a very slight guy in terms of his frame when you think about a contested player but he doesn't play like his body type. He plays like a bull, and I think that's what endears him to us because he plays with that intensity.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. He's slim in nature, but geez, the way he attacks the footy is unbelievable. Yeah, I noticed that in the round one game where he kicked 4 goals against the Tigers. He just ferocity at the contest for a guy his size was incredible. And yeah, as you said, it endears you to the fans straight away. And once you see that effort, yeah, it's great. And he's only going to, if he's going to be playing majority of his time in the midfield this season, you can only see that just getting even better. So it's good, and yeah, and I'm really looking forward to seeing another full season into him, and hopefully he goes injury free because I think he did pick up a couple of niggles in the halfway period of last season. So hopefully he can go through injury free, and yeah,
mate, I just can't wait to hear the commentary. Cripps to Walsh to Martin to Williams inside 50 to Harrick, handballs it off to Fisher. Like he's just part of the names in that group who have the class in tight to get the ball out. He's got that speed. He's got that burst. He's got that hit up inside 50 kick. He lowers the eyes. He's super exciting, and I really genuinely believe he can get better this year because last year he was good. He was very good, but obviously he's had another preseason with his group. He's a lot more familiar with being a Carlton man, a Carlton person, so you sort of get more familiar with your surroundings. He's got a lot to prove. He's here to prove that. He came for a fresh start. He came to play at a big club. He came to play in big games. And low key, why can't he be thought of in that top 50, top 60 type player in the competition? He's very, very talented.
Yeah, absolutely. That potential he certainly hasn't reached it yet, in my opinion. He's yeah, I think he can be right up there in that top bracket of players and potentially getting in the All Australian squad. So yeah, I'm super excited to see how he is going to go this season with the added superpower around him with Sard and Williams too. So yeah, can't wait to see what he's going to bring, and yeah, hopefully he can kick 4 against Richmond again in round 1.
That's for you, Quinny boy.
I know he's watching.
He will be. It will be. I hope he is anyway. He knows what's coming. Let's get through some of the fan comments. Kano says he's going to be an absolute gun, Jackie Martin, and I'm calling a potential player that will get talked about for All Australian come mid-season. Josh Winch believes we've got to keep him in the middle because he's tough as nails. He's not scared to have a go, and he can kick a goal. They're very good traits. Musakar believes he found his feet very easily in our team almost instantly. I think that's spot on. Aaron says, this guy, the attack on the ball and the player is second to none. He only knows one way, tough as nails. Graham says he loves what he brings. You need him rotating between on ball and half forward. Jared says that he's going to kick 35 goals. Let's talk about that. So we're hearing different talk about him this year. Last year, Teague spoke about how he's going to start as a forward and we're going to sort of have him play in spurts through the midfield. It looks like that's going to be flipped around a little bit, and he's going to maybe start as a midfielder and float forward. And then I remember the preseason preview with Cam Bruce, and he was talking about Zach Williams and how they might look to rotate Zach Williams and Jack Martin in the midfield and forward. So my question to you, Marcus, and you guys at home, what are you expecting from him as a forward? Or, I mean, do you expect him to be kicking a certain amount of goals? And if so, how many?
I probably don't expect him to kick 35. That's a fair stretch. He'd probably have to be playing majority of the time in the forward line. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, he hit the scoreboard a lot last season, and I can't see why he can't again. We've got that depth now running through the midfield where he can drift forward and in a pretty natural position for him. He knows how to play down there. So, if he can kick 15 to 20 goals next season, I think that's a pretty good return. I don't know. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're positioned where there are a few guys that can kick 15 to 20. Like I look at David Cunningham, he with the potential that we always talk about, if he puts it all together, I think he can kick 15. I think Jack Martin can kick 15. I'm looking at Zach Fisher to be kicking 20 plus this year. I'm looking at Harry to be kicking, 30, 35, thereabouts. I'm looking at Mitch McGovern to be kicking somewhere around 20 to 25, worst case scenario if he plays every game. So, yeah, I think he's one of a few that I'm looking at to kick that, let's say 10 to 15 goals for the year. I think he's one of a few that can do it, particularly if he's going to be playing throughout the midfield, because like you said, he's got the craft. He's played many minutes as a forward. I think he's got a tank to play as a midfielder, but I like the fact that he's going to be rotating.
Yeah, for sure. And I think they're probably building on his tank over the preseason, where last season he was more of that explosive, real grunt player, where now I think he's got a bit more of a tank to play more minutes in the midfield, which is going to be great. And and hopefully he can do some darting runs through the midfield and kick some goals on the run, which would be great.
Yeah, for sure. A few more comments here from Rafi. His skill and class with the ball has been something we've been crying out for quite some time. He's an elite player, just fantastic, and all for free. # thank you, Sauce. Love that. And then Pommy and Vinny Brigante have been going at it in the comments, exchanging chants. Pommy's gone the old Martin's on fire, your defense is terrified. That's cool. I like that. I think that works. That works very well. I like that a lot. And Vinny went with he's gone with Martin's a king. Martin's a king. Oh, he's even put the Dora in there. So where are you placed with chance in footy? Just on a side note, I think we can add him. I think we can add him into the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there should be more of it. I don't know why there isn't. Obviously, yeah, we both follow the overseas soccer, and it happens all the time. So I don't see why not. I think someone needs to bring it in. Maybe Pommy should start some at the ground.
I think that's Pommy's role. I think that's what he's going to be doing. But Vinny's also keen as well. Young Vinny Brigante, he's very, very keen on doing the chance as well. So we're building. A few more comments here. Bryce says that Jack opens up the game with his speed and accuracy. He can quickly change the game in our favour. And Miggles says he will dominate regardless of where he plays. And I like that. He's a good footballer, and he's a versatile footballer. He's a David Teague footballer. So looking forward to Jack Martin, and that'll do for his 2021 season preview. As we move on to a guy who, Marcus, we just haven't seen much of. He's a mystery box for us. His name is Caleb Marchbank. He wears number 22. He's come over from GWS quite a few years ago now. The body has just not been good to him. It's hard to put expectations on him. It's hard to know where he's at. He seems to always be in the rehab group. Where are you placed with Caleb Marchbank this year?
Yeah, he's just another one where he's just a bit like Charlie Curnow. You just don't know when they're gonna come back. There's just no expectation on him you can't say, he's going to be back by this turn, because then something else pops up. His body's just failing him. So it is very frustrating, because we all know he's a great talent and he can be a very good player. His intercept marking's very good, and even his kicking skills are great too. So it's really hard. You just don't know. You see him. He was out there training for a bit, and then he gets injured again. Gets back to training, gets injured again. It's ongoing with him. So it's super frustrating, and I'd love to see him back. I think he can be a very good player when up and running.
Yeah, but also for him, for his health, for his head, for his mental health. Yeah. I mean, he's a fit bloke. He's an elite athlete. That's what he is. He's good enough to play in this league at a high level. And to have injuries stop you from just moving and functioning normally, and like getting up in the morning and walking to the fridge and opening the fridge and feeling pain. And I just worry about him as a human first. Obviously, want to see him on the park, because I personally think he is good enough to be the number 2 to Jacob Weitering in terms of the 1-2 punch. That's how I see him. I think he's the next in line to take over what Liam Jones does for us personally. But yeah, like 2019, he had the non-displaced fracture in his neck. He was in the neck brace for 5 months, 6 months, maybe a little less. But it was significant. Then obviously last year he just kept having complications. He kept having I think he had the hamstring. As far as information this year, I remember the injury report that Andrew Russell did about 3-4 weeks ago now, where he said that Marchbank was probably 2 to 3 weeks away from joining the main group. So I'm hoping we can get an update when we're doing this preview now on the 17th of Feb. So I'm hoping that we can get more of an update on where he's at and if he's had any other complications. But from what I was hearing and what the club were putting out, it seemed like he was fit and finally on top of it. So when he does get fit, because I'm going to assume he's going to get fit, he's going to figure it out. He's got Andrew Russell there who's guiding him every step of the way, and he must be motivated to get back out there. Where is he fitting into this team? Because it's a fascinating discussion.
Yeah, Absolutely. That I was just thinking that. Like, who do you take out for him? You probably look at Plowman as the obvious one, but then you lose that player that can play on the small. So it's a great problem to have. Maybe just you give him a few runs in the reserves while he gets his match fitness back and he makes sure his body is right and see what happens from there. But yeah, in terms of taking it out, it's a great question, and I'm glad that we can't think of who to take out, because it's probably a problem that we haven't had over the last few years. So. But yeah, going back to when he just before he hurt his neck, he was playing some great footy in 2019 off that back line, and his marking ability was awesome. So so we all know he's talented, and I'm sure he'll make us a better side when he does play. But yeah, you just don't know who to take out in that back six.
Yeah, I look at him as a guy that can give you 18 and 10, 18 touches and 10 marks. He's an intercept player as well. Me personally, I think he is the Liam Jones replacement for the future. But having said that, I mean, for me, I just want to see him have like 2 months of footy uninterrupted, even if it's in the VFL. I think 2 months of footy in the VFL is going to be. I don't see him playing 2 months of footy in the VFL because he's too good. I think if he plays 5-6 games in the VFL, that might be enough to say, okay, he's ready to play in the AFL. So yeah, I think that's the conversation we're gonna be revisiting it. I can see it already. Once he's fit and healthy, it's gonna be who comes out, because Williamson is now emerged. He's now emerging into this group. He's fit and healthy. We've brought in Newman a few years ago. He's not going anywhere. He's going to get fit as well. Sard has to play. Weitering goes without saying. Doc goes without saying. Jones, so you're right. Great problems to have. And I think just more than anything, just want to wish him the best and just send him hopefully some good luck, and hopefully we can get him back, because he's it's him and Charlie who have just been, cruelled with injury.
Yeah, 100%. It's you got it. Yeah, your heart goes out to these guys. They're still very young in their footy career as well. So I mean, as you said before, great problem to have. But let's hopefully just get him back. And I mean, if you can play 5 to 6 games consistently in the reserves, I think that's good enough to be for him to be ready, I reckon.
Yep, fair enough. Some of the fan comments here. Pommy says that Marchbank is like Taylor Swift's back catalogue. It was amazing at the time, but now just a memory and no making coin for the owner. Need to get fit, can be top 10 in the league. He's the modern day backman. If ever there was a Pom quote, there it is right there. Got a bit of everything. I love it. Alexander says that he thought that he was in the best team replacing Plowman at one stage. Now I'm not too sure with injuries. May come in if one of our keys are out of form. Fair enough. Clinton says, with our backline, it'll be horses for courses. Sean Taylor says, Marchie can't replace Liam Jones. Modern full forwards are 200 centimetres plus, and he would get monstered. That's a good point. That's actually a very good point. I didn't think of it like that, but you're right, Sean. Stephen says, a fully fit Caleb would likely take Plowman's position. He can play tall and short, and I think more creative than Plow. Interesting. And Clinton says, no need for SPS to be in the back line. I didn't even mention Sam Petruski, but yes, it's been made very clear that he's going to be playing there. So Mr. Whittle says Marchbank will be scary when he returns. So I think we all still know how good he is. I think if the fans can still remember how good he can be, like we say, it's just about getting him back out there, and fingers crossed, toes crossed, and hopefully we could see him out there this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no real expectations at this stage for him. It's just getting his body right, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, beautiful. So there's Caleb Marchbank for season 2021. Next up, tell you what, this is low-key my favourite. Low-key one. He's probably in my top 3. Next up is Jacob Weitering, number 23. I'm just going to go out on a limb. I'm certain he won the best fairest in 2020. I'm sure of it. He didn't have a single bad game in 2020. He's lived up to the hype. He's so low-key. He just carries himself like a leader, like a captain. You won't see him in any scandals. He's just – I don't want to overhype him because he's just a human being. But I love him as a footballer. I love what he brings to the football club, and I'm so excited to watch him play again. How are you seeing Weiters for this year?
Oh man, I'm with you. I absolutely love this guy. every game he played last season was unbelievable. Really, he just plays with that professionalism. He's so strong. He was beating players like Lynch and Hawkins as well. He did some unbelievable jobs on players like that. So, and how we didn't make All Australian is another conversation, which was an absolute joke. But I mean, much the same in 2021 for Weiters. And I guess his next step is to be in that All Australian team for us. And and you said he's more than likely one of our best and fairest when it does get announced, and he could win it again next season. So I think I think for Weiters is just to continue on his form that he was producing last season, and then cement that centre half back All Australian spot would be my expectations of him for this season. I mean, he's already at that elite level now where he's doing as much as he can really as that centre half back.
Yeah, no, spot on. I mean, the scary part for me is he hasn't even unlocked his game yet. Like I think he got the strength component to his game last season where he wasn't getting monstered. Having said that, I want to see him play on Charlie Dixon this year. I think that's something I want to just see how that works because I think he's got the strength to do it. He takes pride in keeping his opponent goalless. Again, the way he talks off the field, he's got a brain. He actually not just a footballer. He's actually a human. Like he actually talks with intelligence. But onto his game, I remember when he was drafted and watching all the highlights and seeing who is this Jacob Weitering. The number one thing that really stood out was his intercept marking. And I think we haven't even unlocked that with him yet. The other part was about his field kicking, which is a beautiful kick. He hasn't even gotten the ball 16, 17, 18 times a game yet. I think we can even see more of him doing that this year and for years to come. Do you think that's the case with him, or are you just keen for him to just be the lockdown full-back, centre-half back?
To be honest, I see him as that lockdown. I mean, his career best season was in that role and absolutely stopping the key power forward. So I love him doing that. But yeah, he does have that elite foot and that elite marking as well. So I mean, he's got a lot of strings to his bow, which is great. But yeah, I see him as that real strong lockdown key defender. That I mean, you got Jones there who's a bit more. A bit more erratic where he can run off his opponents and he's got a bit more pace where he can sort of take off. But yeah, I see Weiters as more of that just shut down, strong, nothing gets past him, that sort of player. So, but who knows? You might be unleashed into what you're mentioning before. But for me, I prefer him as just that strong lockdown player.
Yeah, fair. What about you guys in the comments? Let us know. How do you see Jacob Weitering's game evolving, if at all, or is it just pretty much this is where he's at for the next 6, 7, 8 years, or do you think he can add a few things, and do you think we can help him add a few things moving forward? I want to get to what you guys have said so far. Shad has said that he just makes it look too easy to get noticed like he deserves. Absolutely. Alexander says nothing you can say about Weitering. Guy was robbed of the All-Australian team. Loved watching him clamp up the likes of Lynch. Truly a remarkable player. Rocco says that he should be our next captain. I could not agree more with this. I love Sam Walsh, but Weitering, for me, he already carries himself like a captain. Toby says, an All-Australian in 2021. Go the Blues. Pommy says, Weiters, where do you start? He's our Achilles. He's had more key forwards in his pockets than I've got broken bones in my foot. One man shot for quality, as the French would see. He's le god. Graham says that not making All-Australian in 2020 was worse than Walks missing the mark of the year. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've got Aaron who says, this bloke bleeds navy blue. You get the vibe. He has some white line fever. Name me a better field kick for a key defender. Should be getting him the ball more often. And Kano says, Weiters is our best key defender since Sauce. He will be the player that will be in the next team of the century. I love it. Clem Smith, highlights enthusiast. What a great YouTube account name that is. Clem Smith says, now it's only now starting to sink in how crazy our backline dynamic will be for 2021. Weiters is going to feast on the best tools in the game. The comments are very much all the same. We're very confident about where he's at. We're very happy with his development. probably goes to show a little bit more about how patient we need to be with some of these draftees. It's kind of like Weiters has come through on the other end of that early 3, 4, 5 year block of his career. He came into, let's be honest, the worst team in the competition for an extended period of time. He's come into a losing culture, a losing team, but he seems to have come out at his best and starting to really hit his peak. So very happy with him, proud of him, fingers crossed for good health and all of that. And I don't think there really is much more that needs to be said.
No, not at all. I mean, yeah, he's there's no real flaws to his game at the moment. He's just he's doing it all, and hopefully he takes home the best and fairest when that does get announced.
Yep, for sure. So there we go. There's Jacob Weitering for season 2021 for his preview. Next up and last up is number 24, Nick Newman. Nick Newman, unlucky. I think he got injured in round 1. Came back the week after, got injured again. He broke the fibula, I think it was, a fracture in the fibula, and just really that was his season done. He was brought into the club, if we remember, when Sam Doherty went down with his ACL. We brought in Nick Newman. He played a really good role for us in 2019. He had some really good games, and now that we've added other pieces to the list and he's healthy, he presents a depth player. But maybe even more than that, because I really love what he brings to the team. I think what's been forgotten about is his intensity and his determination. Where are you with Nick Newman this year?
Yeah, I mean, it creates another headache for us, doesn't it? You look at that halfback role where he does play, and I mean, where does he play ahead of Williamson, Doherty, all these players? I'm not sure if he does. But then when you look back on his 2019 season, where he was really good for us. So it's a great problem to have again. Whether he starts the season in the reserves or not, we'll find out. But I reckon he's great. He's probably one of the best ball users in the team with that left foot. So hopefully he can have an injury-free season and keeps creating headaches for the selection table.
Yeah. I remember a game late in the year against the West Coast Eagles 2019 where he kicked 4 goals. There's this notion that he lets his man off and he's not as sharp as a defender and sometimes can let his man kick goals. But I mean, that West Coast game for me is something that we have to be bottling up. You've got a guy that can push forward and kick 4 goals on a run. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Zach Tui, but with, a bit more ability to win more of the ball. I know that we try to use Willow a little bit as a wingman towards the back end of 2020. I don't see why Nick Newman can't do the same. He seems to have that versatility. I think Kano here mentioned it as well. He said, could Newman be another possible midfield wing position? Where are you with that? Is he a halfback flanker only, or is he someone we can push up the ground a bit more?
I think he can definitely push up the ground. As you said, he can kick goals. He kicked those 4 goals against West Coast in 2019. So, I mean, if we can have him around that forward 50 and he's a long kick as well. So, if he has the ball about 55, 68, he can probably kick it. So, I don't mind it. I don't mind seeing him on the wing. I mean, at the moment, it's probably the only spot where he might play, just with our depth across half back at the moment. So, yeah, I don't mind it. He's got goals in his locker, so I wouldn't mind seeing him across that area.
Is he there for you? I'm going to ask you, and then a yes or no in the comments from everyone watching at home. Is he in, because he's healthy, he's with the main group, he's training, he's in the match sim, so I'm going to put him in that available for round 1 selection. Yes or no, Marcus and everyone at home, is he in the starting 22 for Richmond round 1 in a month's time?
Oh.
Put you on the spot.
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes. Yeah.
I'm going to say yes. All right.
I think he just makes it. I think his ability to use the ball will keep him in the team.
So is he coming in? Because I mean, the way I see it, you pick 7 defenders, 7 midfielders, 7 forwards, and a ruck. Is he someone that plays over a Tom Williamson right now? I know Willow is the future, but are you saying that Nick Newman is the right now?
Yeah, I'm saying he's the right now. I think he probably plays ahead of Williamson, just like, as much as we love Willow, he's great, and I mean he's still very young, but I think Newman gives us that experience and and as we've seen, he can kick goals as well. And we saw him play that 2019 season really well. So I think he just plays ahead of Willow for that spot.
Yep. Love it. Let's get through a few more of these comments about Newman before we wrap it up. Pom says, this dude gets me excited. He was tracking as top 10 in the league in 2019. Doc Newman side is a scary proposition. Allows us to mold in the way the Tigers and Eagles rotate and damage from transition. Spot on. Daniel says, Newey's having a superb preseason. He's going to be good wherever he goes this year. Shannon believes that Newman will play and be the designated kicker-innerer. Is that even a word? I don't know. Stephen says that I reckon he's in our back six. He's an elite kick. However, just needs to improve his one-on-one defending and take his game to the next level. Jad says Newman can easily be a starter. It's just hard to see who he pushes out. Aaron says he can't see him in our starting back line. Can they push him up to a wing? He loves a goal. Get him the ball in space. Lana says, I love Hello Newman. Joey Katojo says, Newey's a very important player, has leadership qualities, who can play anywhere. A lot of people here, I've got a lot of yeses to whether he plays in our round one team. Where are we? Jared says that he's going to play in the right back pocket in 21. And Kano says he's definitely in the best 22, probably starts on the bench. He can then play halfback and run through the wing. So, yeah, I think, look, he's another one who we wish good health. He didn't have good health last year. And if he's fit and available and not getting a game, we must be going right.
Yeah, absolutely. If we can get these players, a lot of these players that we've mentioned are playing in the reserves. We're going to have a bloody strong reserves team as well. So, it's a great problem to have. And it's, as I said, we haven't had these problems over the last few years. So I don't mind, trying to, finding it hard to find a place for some of these players. So, and it's good. And but for me, I feel like he just makes it.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Well, there is Nick Newman's preview for 2021. It's, like I said, it was a good batch. I've got, or is he, CodeStar 818. He's made a $5 donation. He says, thanks for the stream. Thank you very much, CodeStar. Really appreciate your generosity there. Mate, it's been an hour. There it is right there. That's been
Already?
an hour. It's it
That
flies
was great.
by. Yeah. You enjoyed it?
Yeah, no, really good. Loved it. It was absolute pleasure to be on. Obviously, massive fan of the show, so it's great to be a part of it.
Yeah, no, mate, we're happy to have you here. For those of you at home, I'm glad that we can be here amongst each other again. Lockdown for the Victorians looks like it's been lifted. Looks like we're going to be back in society from tomorrow, so that's exciting for us. Obviously, a lot of uncertainty with what's going on. I hope we've brought you some good entertainment and a good hour of Carlton chat tonight. I've got 2 requests from everyone in the audience tonight. As you leave this stream and as we end this stream, if you could go and give Assertive Media a like on Facebook and give Shad some support. And if you can go on Instagram as well and go to the Pressure Point podcast, check them up on Instagram. This is Marcus and his good friend Quinn. If you can go there and show them some support. You're on YouTube as well, yeah?
Yeah, we're on YouTube as well. Yeah.
Perfect. Even better. Even easier for you guys to navigate. Go there and show some support, and we will be back for more. Stay tuned on the Blue Abroad YouTube channel. Have a great one, guys.